Journals and cards, like the one I've created here, are the perfect way to store and share holiday memories. Follow along as I walk you through my process. I'm Sherry from the Vin Cycle. Let's get creative.
Okay, so we're going to work on this Gingerbread Dreams. This is the folio card, 3D folio card, and I've already put it together, and I have a separate video on how to put it together. The way I do it is I kind of plan everything out ahead of time and like paper clip things on where I want them to go. And that really is the best way to do it, because that way you can kind of decide what you want to do, and if you want to make a change, you can make a change before everything's just glued on there, and then you're kind of stuck with it the way it is. When I put the journal together, as I was putting the cover together, you can see the cover has two sides. I put these little brads on my windows as I was putting the journal together, and that way you don't see the back of the brad, it's hidden in here. These are my fabric scissors, and I know they are my fabric scissors because they have fabric tied on them. I try really hard, and I impressed upon my children when they were younger to only use, fabric scissors with fabric and paper scissors with paper, because I know none of you like it when your fabric scissors aren't cutting your fabric because somebody cut paper with them. I'm just going to do that, and then when it dries, I'll try to get a really skinny line here. I'll go back and trim it when it's dry. Down there. Another thing I do, and I'm not doing it here, and I need to be because it's sliding around, is a lot of times I will take either a paper clip or a little binder clip like this to hold something down till it dries, especially if I'm still working on the same piece and I'm spinning it around and sliding it everywhere. So let's do that. Clamp that down a little bit. Poor guy, looks like he's been arrested or something. Really big handcuffs. Poor little guy. Almost forgot. Pop these on there. That's cute. People can have fuzzy buttons, right? And it's whatever you have, like all the stuff that I'm using on this journal today, I already had in my stash, because I have a lot of crap. I already had in my stash, so I didn't have to go get. So use the stuff that you have. Don't go out and buy a bunch of new stuff for this. Use what you have. And then, so when we glue the pocket, we're just going to go on the three edges here. I try to do a thin line if possible, so it doesn't, ooze out. I'm holding this up in the air, so my hands are shaking. Now this is a little pocket, and I tied it with a ribbon here. I did put little grommets on it. The reason I did that was because when you're opening and closing it so much and tying and untying it, I didn't want to wear it out. So I haven't done anything with these little guys yet. I don't know if I will. I did on some other cards, but it makes them thick inside the little pocket. So for right now, we're just going to leave it as is and hook it down here. Two-sided tape. I get it from Amazon. I have it everywhere. Except for I tend to like lay it in all my fuzzy stuff and get fuzzies all over it, so that's not good. I need to be a little more, just a crazy crafter. Stuff's going flying everywhere. If you wanted to, you could leave the pocket open at the top, and then you could put something behind it also. I'm not going to do it with this pocket, but I probably will with the other bigger pocket. So many fuzzies on here. from all the, I've been working on all the different stuff for the, you know, the ribbon and stuff, and it's getting fuzzy stuff everywhere. This is a kind of fuzzy, it's a really sturdy, I think I got this from Amazon a couple years ago, so I'll see if I can find it and link it. But it's a very thick, sturdy cord. We're gonna leave the little guy out and give him a couple more seconds to dry and move on to the next page, okay? Now, with this page, I want to trim these out. Again, I'm gonna use the Rick Rack with these, and the reason that I'm doing that is I'm trying to have like a little bit of a theme. Same thing, red Rick Rack. I might have some wider red, but I'm using the narrower red just because this isn't a very big pocket. And this just adds a little bit of a pop. And here it is. Okay. So I'm gonna be using either clips or paper clips again. So let me grab some of those. And we're just gonna do a light little, I'm gonna try to light it up kind of with the top of that. And need about, let's see, put a little clip where I started. Kind of get a rough idea where I want to end here. Clip in the middle, just in case. And a clip on the very end. And this one, this pocket I stacked on top of this one, so I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. This journaling page, I am actually going to glue down and leave it glued into the book. And I'm gonna do this off to the side here, and I don't know if you'll see me, but I don't want to get the glue all over my work surface, so I'm just gonna go over to the side, but that's what I'm doing. I'm just putting glue stick all over it. On this card, I just put a little twine, and on this one is what I wanted to show you, and I don't know if it's going to show up really well on camera, but that is paint. So I saw DIY paint on my website, and what I did was I took just a little bit of that and some water, because it's pretty thick paint. I almost got it too watery, I think. And I put it in one of, this is like a little glue, refillable glue container that I got. And I traced a lot of the little designs there in the cookie. So I'm going to kind of show you on the card. I don't know if you know, I don't know how well it'll show up. But this is basically what I did is I just put little, I said card and it's a tag, but that's all right. I put little dots, tiny little dots like that on there. They kind of look like they're meant to be, I think, like a little snowflake. And I just wanted something with, you know, I just wanted to add a little texture. I'm going to kind of hold it up so you can see. And maybe you can't, I don't know. But it's little tiny little white paint dots. And one more thing real quick while I'm here that got missed when I had my technical difficulties was a page I was working on over here when I glued this journal page down. If you remember this journal page, these are little gingerbread buttons that I found in my stash. And on this side, I did put some Rick Rack on her. All I did here was glue this down, and I put these little gumdrops that were part of just a cheap kit that I got somewhere of little stickers or whatever. And I just wanted to point that out. Same thing here. It was part of that little kit, this little gingerbread guy. I just wanted to point those out to you because they got missed. And I use the Scotch glue stick. I get it on Amazon. I have a lot of it because I bought a big thing of it for when I do classes. So, and this, again, we have to watch for our little creases in the paper. I'm just going to put this kind of right at the top, make sure I'm not hitting any creases. Slide it down just a hair. Maybe not. Whoops. There. So I want to get my 2 pockets in there. Okay. I did stop recording for a minute, so if what I'm doing doesn't make sense all of a sudden, that is why. We are just going to call it technical difficulties and try to just move on. How about that? Okay. And we want to make sure that this is going to fit on there. I think I need to go a little closer to the edge here. And we'll see if that works. I actually did take a Hershey's Kiss. And, you know, you just eat it and save the wrapper. The things you do for crafts. But I kind of tried to reshape it a little bit, kind of like a Hershey's Kiss wrapper. Sort of, kind of. And my intent is to glue it on here. And we're going to see if that happens. The other thing I would like to do is I can't see this. I have it too close to me in my eyes, I'm telling you. Getting older really stinks. Okay, I'm going to drop it down here a little bit. So I have the tape on there and I have just a little bit of glue. Moving on. So this page, I'm just going to do a tiny dot of glue on each button. And stick on. Drop on one of those and see if they stay. I wish I had some even smaller ones. That would have been ideal, but this is what I had. So, there you have it. They're kind of on top of each other, but I don't care. There. As long as I get 3 of them on there. Which I did, yay. So she has 3 little shiny buttons. And I'm going to set her aside for just a second because we're going to go to the next phase here. And for this, I'm going to put a little piece of paper down for a second. So what I did is I wanted to make some little jelly beans, oh my gosh, gumdrops. And I had these little buttons that I got. It was a set I might have already peeled off the back on that. I think I did. But it was just a little set of these little buttons. And I thought they kind of look like the gumdrops. And so I thought, okay, I want to make like a sugar coating on my gumdrops. And you can see that's kind of like what I did here. And what I did was I put some glue on it all over. And then this is some really, really crystal fine glitter from Martha Stewart that I have. I have like a set from her I've had forever. And it's super, super fine. I really like it. And so I'm going to sprinkle that on our little gummy drops here. Like that. I'm going to go ahead and glue down the 2 pages that we're doing the gumdrops on. So I have those done. And then we'll move on and glue our little friend on in a minute. And our little gumdrops. And this one's going to go here. And I don't want that to stick out. So I'm going to try to line it up. I want to go as close to the bottom as I can. But I want it to line up with the edge of the other pocket. And we're pretty close there, so we're going to call that good. You know, by the time you get all of your stuff in your journal, a lot of little things that you think are a big deal really aren't a big deal. So let me just, I will put a tiny little piece of tape by Ginger's head to help secure her down, especially because she's got that little extra weight from her cute little bow, which I just glued on. And then the rest of Ginger, see what I mean? I get stuff all over my hands and then I get it in my tape. Ah, stop the madness, Sherry. Okay, then the rest of it's going to get glued. And I'm going to do this over here so I don't get it in my workspace as much. And I'm going to glue her right down to the page, I think. Hope I got enough glue stick on there. Okay, moving along. Now, and we're going to put we still have to put our little gummies on. So I'm just waiting for them to dry a little bit. So we'll move on and get back to those, okay? Now, on this page, let me just show you what happened. I did my usual messy, have ink on my fingers, touch my glue, putting my book together. So I have this here. So I am going to just hide it as best I can. I have a lot of, rickrack and lace and, stuff like this. This one came from, I think, I want to say Michael's, and I will try to link that and you can see if they still have it. But I use a lot of that kind of stuff in my own lace and ribbon and things like that. Here's some of the pink. I have it in a bag right now. But I have a lot of that kind of stuff. And some of it, this was actually some trims that I got at an estate sale this summer, earlier this year. So it's getting late. It's getting too late. I had a rough day today trying to do this with my filming. I was having, let's just call it technical difficulties today. And so things are not exactly going as planned, but I'm okay. We're gonna march on here. Okay, so that's there. This is the twine I showed you earlier. It looks like this. And I just glued it around there for that, just to add it, so this wasn't sharp corners, and add a little pop to it. This I think I'm going to put here. I'll try to stay fairly high because, again, putting tags in there. And this might bug me enough I might end up hooking that down, because now I'm not sure if I like that. I think I am going to end up gluing that. And we're just going to kind of flop it on there. La la. A song in my head. And it is easier if you glue that on before you try to put it onto your page. Okay, these are waterfall pages. You can put photos on there, or you can write on them, whatever you want to do. This is my last page, and my intention here is to put the pocket here, and then this kind of pocket here, and then I have things to go in this pocket. You can take these little, and I'll try to link these too. These are little Velcro closures, and you can use them to hold the pocket shut if you want. One, if you feel like you're going to open and close it a lot, I don't recommend that because it's paper and it will wear over time. You can also use some type of like a little frog or something and close it, but whatever you want to do. This is going to go, again, with my gluey fingers. You can see some there and there. I'm just a mess today. Put this down towards the bottom. And on the edge of the page, edge of the page there. This will go at the top here. I might have it up a little bit too high, but I think it'll be okay. I'm going to leave that for a second, and I'm going to go to the last page here. And let's see our plan, and I still have the back cover to do. So, oh, you know what? I just realized this was supposed to go on here. I had this sitting out to do that. Now I don't think I can. Darn me. The madness. That's why I had everything hooked on the page, and then what did I do? I popped it off the page. And here I'm saying, oh, not every page needs a trim, but I did have a trim for this page, and then or this pocket. I don't know if I can put it on there now. Darn it. And because I wanted to point out that, I might not be able to do it now. I'm going to try. My point was that you can use anything for your trims. Like, you don't have to have, this is some, and I don't know why I have this. It was in my stash. It was probably something I got from someone else and they had done it, but it's a good idea. They had just trimmed off, they had this, it was probably something they were using on a pillow or whatever, but it's just a piece of scrap. And I was thinking I could put it on the pocket like that and it would look cute. But now I don't know if I'm going to be able to because, darn me, I already glued it down. So we're going to flip it around. And I think I might take the chance and see if I can put it on there. I'm probably gluing the page shut. Oh, my heavens. Why do I do this to myself? Why? Another page with more trim because I just like it. It's an easy thing to do, and because it's flat, that helps. You know, it doesn't take up a lot of space. This kind of reminded me of like a roof or something line, and so I thought that would be cute right there. To hold our lace down here. Our lace. See, you're invested in this now. It's our lace. Okay. Put our lace down. I want to try to move it. What I was trying to do is get it right up at the edge like that. So you couldn't really. There, I'm going to put a few clips on it, like we've been doing. Give it a chance to dry a little better. 1, 2, 3. And that's going to go here. So while that dries for a second, let's talk about this other project. This is just going to get glued on the page, and this is one of the pieces of ephemera that comes with the kit. And I wanted to do something 3D. And so what I did was I took some of these, and it didn't turn out quite the way I wanted, but you know what? Whatever. I'm good. It was a learning experience. I took some of these little pop dots. You know, they get to make things pop up, be 3D. I had those in my drawer. And what I did was I kind of tried to cut them a little bit. So they were shaped a little bit different. That one I left round, but I was trying to trim them up a little bit. So you have to kind of leave your paper on it when you do that. Okay. All right. Here we go. I'll put this right. So much stuff. And again, we have to pay attention to our little crease there. We don't want to go on the crease. I'm going to go as close to it as I can, just because I don't want it to stick off the edge of the book here. And push that down. My fingers are so dirty. I hate to touch anything. I wash my hands every 2 minutes, the rate I'm going. Put a couple of, can't really put a lot on this one unless I fold over the top, and I don't really want to do that, so I'll just put a couple on here. Call that good. Okay, this is probably dry enough to glue down, so let's do that. I'm going to trim it a little bit. Oh, I just cut the pocket. Oh no, and I did it with my fabric scissors. Oh no. So my pocket's gonna be a little crooked now. I just cut it right there doing this. I'm okay. Let me just ink that and no one will know. Ha ha! That's why I like the ink. We hide everything with our ink. I don't want it to hang off the front there. Yeah, that'll work. Got a little messy with my glue. That glue came out a little bit faster than I wanted to. Ah. So, put this down. And this. But I think I decided I'm going to put one of these. But put it there. Because this is such a... I don't want to cover up that pattern. And since I have this here... Let me look. Let me just double check. Oh, I don't know. I might put it down there. See, I still can't decide. That's my problem. That's one of my problems. I think because I'm going to put some thicker things in here, I'm not going to put that there. I'm going to put it down here. But this isn't the one I wanted to use, you guys. Oh, here it is. This is the one I want to use. And it kind of ties in with that way. Put it down there a little bit. Oh, that was easy. I might got a little crazy with my glue on that one. This one towards the bottom. Stuck to my finger again. Dang it. Over that way just a little bit. Right around there. Okay. Those are going to take a hot minute to dry. Just push them down a little bit. I don't want to ooze out the glue too much. Let's move on and I'll tell you about a couple other things. Okay. So while that dries, we're going to talk about this. This is a little card that can go in one of the pockets. I think my plan was to put it back here. I'm not sure. Yeah, in the house pocket. What I did here was I had some flocking that I have. I have a bunch of these little things with the flocking. I don't know if you've ever used flocking. It's just kind of fuzzy. When it makes things like that, have that fuzziness to them, kind of that velvety finish. And I put some glue on where the snow was on the house and on the chimney, just in those two areas. And then I put the flocking on there. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see in the photo and on the screen with or not. And you don't have touch-o-vision, so you can't touch it. But it's a fuzzy flocking. And I kind of like the way that looked because it was like a little, just something a little bit different. We gave it a little texture, and it wasn't really shiny, but it gave it texture, and it kind of looks like the snow texture, but I didn't put any glitter or anything. So now we're going to move on to our tags. And these two tags I just put together, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a brad in there. And I've done this, I know I did the gingerbread, when I did the gingerbread journal, I did this with the gumdrops. There's gumdrops in the gingerbread journal. And if I wanted to be a cheater, I could have printed some of those off and used them in this journal. But if you do happen to, or in this card, and all that does is give it color and it makes it something we can open and close like that. So that will go on one of the pockets. This this was a tag that came, no, this is a tag I made, I think, yeah. I just cut out the shape of a tag. I drew it on there and cut it out. And I'm going to make it a two-sided tag. So I'm going to put it on here to make it a two-sided tag. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little pocket in it. So I'm going to leave this area open when I glue it down. So we have like a little hidden pocket. So I'm going to glue along here. Hopefully I just get small amounts here. Getting harder to see using this glue because my light is fading. Getting a little more glue than I wanted. Okay. Then I'm going to put this, and you can do this. The kit comes with, because the kit comes with the papers that you can, we have options for the different papers for the back of the cover. You'll have extra paper. Like I have this one, and the gumdrop, I keep saying jelly bean, the gumdrop one, and then the striped one. So you can just use whatever one you want and make yourself some extra tags. So that's a nice thing about the kit when you get something like that where you can make more tags. So I have this tag and this one I just put lace on, and I got my pieces of trim really long, so you don't need to do that. But and then this one is really long. This one I just like the red and pink because there's red and pink in the journal, and I have another sheer one. This one I put a sheer one and a grosgrain together. Here's another one. Ooh, it's buried, poor little guy. There's another one and another one. They give you plenty of tags. Okay, so first we'll go to this one. This one I put a hole in and put the brad through and folded it down and then glued it together so the brad's there, but you don't see the legs. And then this one is one, and I think you've probably seen other people do this. Got this idea from Serena, who actually makes these cute little kits and cards. This is part of a chindi rug. What I did is I took out parts of colors. I picked 2 rugs out with colors that I thought I would use the most, that had most of those colors in it, because there's a variety of colors in a rag rug. And I took some of it apart and then just washed it and dried it. Now with some of it you're going to get, you can see a little bit there, but the colors will bleed and things like that. So if you don't like that, then you're not going to want to use it. But sometimes you can work around that and get pieces that didn't bleed or whatever. But I have a lot of different, and you get a lot of different textures and fabrics when you do that. Okay. Again, we're going to ink it, and the ink hides some of your little cut flaws, let's call them that. Here's my ink pad. This is just one from Amazon. Try to link that too. And that, see, I'm just trying to hide the white from the edge of the, the white on the edge. That's really all I'm trying to do. Some people put a lot in there and they want to kind of make it look old and distressed, but that's not what I'm doing with this particular journal. So, but you do you. And then, I've said this before, but always store your ink pads upside down. Keep the ink at the top of the pad. And then I'm going to punch a little hole in here. La 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 la. Okay, and another thing you can do with these two, if you want, and I don't know if I have one right here handy to show you, but I'm going to look and see, is you can put a brad, you can put a grommet on there. Let me see if I have one. Not quite as flat as I'd want it to be. I might have the wrong setting. Okay, so we're going to put that on there, and then we need something to go in there. I had an idea. I'm full of ideas. It's not going to be a really long tag by the time I get it braided, but let's just try to knot this and see if it works. I don't know if it will or not, but we're going to try it. if I pull this tight enough, it might stay with just a single knot. That one's a little shorter. I didn't measure that very well. Trim these down just a little bit so they're a little closer to the same size. And that's why you don't use... Okay, so this might not have been the best. This might not have been the best card to put this on because I don't like the color combination, even though there's red and green in there. I'm not sure I like that color combination, but at least it gives you an idea. So you can braid some twine and put it on there if you want something a little thicker. Okay, take my dirty little fingers and go through our finished gingerbread card. These are just a couple pockets on the back. I didn't put anything in them. And remember, I did this on the cover. And mine is like pops open. I have so much stuff in here, but we're just going to go through real quick. We have the little gingerbread guy, and then we have this here with our stuff in it. And I will make another quick video of me doing all this, but maybe with better lighting. So we have our little gingerbread people here, a couple tags here, our gumdrops, tags here. I didn't put anything here, but this is just kind of stuck there. This is unattached. This is our little house with the little fuzzy stuff on it. Candy kisses. And a little tag here. There's our little gingerbread girl. And another tag. I didn't put a tag in there. These are our little gumdrops we made. This is the candy cane, so I use the candy cane tag. And these are just the empty pages. And then here, I bent it up. Here is our little pocket. I'm not going to pull those out right now because I will just have to fight to get them back in. Then we have a couple of tags here. And then our little gingerbread guy here. So I use the tags with the brown on it there. Try to push that down this time when I close it. And some of my ribbons might be a little long, but that's okay. I can live with that. If I want to cut them later, I will. And that's the finished journal. Okay, and that's the finished card. So you can see, you know, to buy this kit on the website and do this, this is a card that is special. Like, someone will want to keep this card forever because you put a lot of work and effort into it. If you'd like to see a video of how I actually did the construction of this journal and put it together, then I put a link to that in the description. Thanks to Whitney at Girl Friday Crafts for inviting me to join her Papercraft Socials Build an Album collaboration. Be sure to click the link in the description to watch the other videos in the series. I'm Sherry with the Vin Cycle. Happy creating!